Hi everyone, meteorologist Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. As we look ahead to the day on Saturday, a solar eclipse is going to move across the United States. You'll remember back in August of 2017, again, the path of totality of that solar eclipse cut right across the state of Nebraska. Not going to be the same thing this go around. That path of totality cuts from the Pacific Northwest up near Oregon, down kind of through the desert Southwest, and then eventually down through parts of South Texas. But again, we will see a good chunk, more than 50% for most of the state, of the sun eclipsed if we can manage to get a view. So again, in Nebraska and again surrounding states, partial solar eclipse expected as we head through the morning hours on Saturday, October 14th, into the early afternoon hours of Saturday, October 14th. If you wanted to take a drive, again, take a trip into the path of totality, again, it's not terribly far away. Again, maybe down to the Four Corners region, again, would be a good spot. Otherwise, again, stretching from up near Oregon down through parts of Texas. For Lincoln and parts of southeastern Nebraska, the timeline for this solar eclipse, the partial eclipse will begin in the morning, 10:23 a.m. is when it's going to begin. The maximum eclipse is going to be shortly before noon, 11:46 a.m. And again, we're going to get about 60% of the sun eclipsed in Lincoln. And for, again, a good chunk of the state, it's going to be right about that 60% mark. The partial eclipse will then end right around 1:15 in the afternoon for us here in Lincoln. Other locations, again, across the state, again, from Omaha out towards the Panhandle, again, local time, it's beginning. Again, we'll begin first in the west. But anytime between about 10:15, 10:25 Central Time, 9:15 or so, again, Mountain Time for those Panhandle locations. Maximum eclipse coming between about 11:30 and 11:45. Again, Central Time, again, that's between about 10:35, 10:40 Mountain Time for those Panhandle locations, and that partial eclipse ending in the afternoon. Again, the magnitude of this eclipse ranging between about 0.68 to 0.78, and again, the magnitude of the eclipse is the fraction of the diameter of the disk of the eclipsed body that is covered by the eclipsing body. So again, the higher the magnitude, the longer you have a totality. Again, a partial solar eclipse always has a value less than 1. A total solar eclipse has a value that's greater than 1. Again, the moon in this eclipse is going to be at one of its further points away from the Earth. So again, it will appear a little bit smaller than the sun. That's how you get that ring of fire, things like that. A total solar eclipse is if the moon was, again, closer to the Earth and blocked out the entirety of the sun. Unfortunately, all this being said, looking at all these times even, I'm not sure if we're going to get a decent view at all of this partial eclipse across the state of Nebraska. I do think we're going to have a pretty decent amount of cloud cover across the state. Again, we've talked about this low pressure system kind of spinning its way through the state over the next couple of days. By Saturday morning, it's already east of the area, but we're still dealing with some lingering cloud cover, maybe even some lingering moisture across the area on Saturday. So you can see, again, this is the European model. And again, for a good chunk of the state, it has mostly cloudy to cloudy skies, maybe some breaks in that cloud cover across parts of western Nebraska. But again, through the morning into the early afternoon, it keeps a lot of cloud cover around, and even into the early afternoon thickens that cloud cover back up across the western sections of the state. The American GFS model, again, also basically the same story, looking at a lot of cloud cover, maybe even some moisture, so I'm not sure if we're going to get a decent view. If you do manage to see some breaks in the cloud cover and do get a view of the eclipse, again, as always, never look at it directly. You can build your own DIY solar viewer. Again, this is kind of some of the steps, and you can do it with a lot of household items: shoebox, tape, foil, paper, pencil, scissors. You take that shoebox, cut a couple holes on the side of the box, and one of those holes you're going to tape basically the piece of foil over that hole, and then you leave the other one open, but you do punch a little hole with a pencil into the foil, and then tape a piece of paper onto the back of that box, and then put the lid on, and then you can look again with the sun to your back, look through the open hole, and then you should be able to see the sun through that hole you punched in the foil with the pencil, and then eventually you should see the moon pass through the shadow of that sun. So again, I never want to look at it directly with your eyes. Again, that can cause injury. If we do, again, don't get a decent view out of it, we don't have to wait long before our next opportunity. Another solar eclipse is expected to move across the United States April 8th of next year, 2024, April 8th. And again, we'll actually likely see a little bit more of the percentage of the sun eclipsed across Lincoln and eastern Nebraska, more than 80%. And again, that path of totality stretching from southwest Texas through parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then up into the New England area as well. So again, not too far of a drive if you wanted to drive towards the path of the total eclipse in April. But again, a couple chances for us here over the coming months. But again, I do think with this one occurring on Saturday, a lot of cloud cover may inhibit that viewing. Again, as always, things can still change between now and then, so make sure you stay tuned to updated forecasts.